Thank you. Don't forget your earphones. This includes translation. A very intimate setting. I feel very close to the audience. Thank you so much for coming. You founded your company in 2006. Now you have almost 30,000 employees, and you're one of the world's biggest lithium-ion battery makers. Volkswagen has a 25% stake in your company. You're expanding outside China rapidly, and despite political headwinds in many countries. Let's start at the beginning. There was hardly an EV market back in 2006. Why did you get into batteries?
No.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction and the very good question. And it is my great pleasure to be here to have a conversation with you about the current situation, the future of the energy industry. So you asked why we entered into the battery industry in 2006. At that time, indeed, not so many people know about this concept, but we believed back then that the new energy era for mankind will come, and it is quickly becoming very mature. Our understanding, there are three stages talking about energy. Back to 10,000 years ago, the humans relied on maybe wood to get energy. We burned wood for heating, to cook. And then the second phase is about 2,000, 3,000 years ago, the humans discovered coal. And then about 500 years ago, we discovered natural gas. And even earlier than that, maybe 1,000 years ago, 600 years ago, we discovered oil, petroleum. And indeed, a lot of the history happened in the past 200 years. In the past 200 years, the humankind, the modern technology advanced significantly, and we have modern technology civilization. But also, as a result, modern energy sector has led to various environmental issues and shortage of resources. So it's inevitable that we have to go towards the next phase, the third phase. We know that the solar and wind are cheap and endless. So for the humans, what we need to do is to take solar energy and wind energy, and then we need to store the energy. So from fossil fuel, the storage happened in the front end. Now we want to utilize renewable energies. We need to store at a later link of the process. So initially, when we entered the new energy sector, our thinking was also pretty simple. As we conducted more research and development and carried out more exchange, we realized these things.
Sadly, we don't have 2,000 years to actually get to full electrification. What are the fastest growing areas now for your company? Is it EVs? Is it storage? Where do you see most potential?
First of all, I think the greatest potential is from the market. We are quite aggressive in terms of our view. We believe that by 2030, around 2030, in terms of energy storage, the demand will exceed 1.5 gigawatt, and that will be a very important number because it represents very high market demand. And market demand gives companies like us the future. Secondly, talking about potential, I believe that technology is evolving very fast. Just to share with you a very simple viewpoint, currently, if we look at the energy storage technology, it's just like the engine 100 years ago. We are just starting, and the future, the room of development, innovation is huge. We have solar power generation technology. The conversion rate is only 20%. By 2030, we believe that the solar energy conversion efficiency will exceed at least 35%. That is a more than 50% improvement, and power generation efficiency will advance very quickly. The storage technology will also very quickly. Storage indeed will be the next big issue once we have addressed the power generation. So we are now talking about ternary storage, lithium-ion technology, and there are other technologies, half-solid battery, for example. So that is the second question. The third question is that we believe the profit margin will also will improve. For example, EV developed very quickly in the past few years. They also have a huge room of development. For the whole energy sector, it will be the same. In future, we might even have electrified airplanes, electrified other like trains. So that is the third point. The fourth point is that we believe that it will lead to major industry shifts and changes. We know that from the oil, petroleum-based or fossil fuel-based energy shaped built on that foundation, there are various industries. In future, if the foundation of energy is different, it becomes electrified, that will also change a lot of industries. It will generate a lot of new players. So in the fossil fuel industry, there is iron and the steel industry and the automobile industry, which are very sizable. In future, we believe there will be major shifts of industries from iron steel industry, from metallurgical industry to a different era. For example, alloyed, aluminum-based or other metal-based aluminum, magnesium-based industry, and also carbon fiber and glass fiber and plant fiber-based industries will take off. So there is a lot of room for a profit margin as well.
You're investing aggressively outside China. You're in Germany, you have projects in India, you have projects in Vietnam, you have one in Morocco, you're in the US. Tell us about your US investments.
Sure. We have set up our material-based factory in Michigan State in the United States. In Chicago, we also have a factory to make a battery there. Chicago is our battery manufacturing base. So we want to collaborate with the industry counterparts in the US. The way we look at the global market is like that. Of course, there are time difference. We have the African market, the European market, the US market, the Southeast Asian markets. All these four markets are very big. And when it comes to EV, last year, 2022, if you look at the sales, for American, that was about 19. The sales of EV was about 19 million units. China also sold about 20 million EV last year. Africa was lower. So all these four markets are huge. All these vehicles in future, that's not the EV sales, that's the total automobile sales. So in future, if all these automobiles turn into EV, you can imagine the number. And the battery address the storage issue. And we hope that we can participate and have a market share in this global market. That's why we set up our battery and material factory in the US. In Europe, we have investment in Morocco. Morocco is a very good country. They have free trade agreement with the US. Same for Australia. And we have free trade agreements with the US. Some countries have that. And Morocco is ideal for investment in renewable energy. Morocco also has very rich wind energy and the storage and solar energy resources. So it's ideal for us to produce materials and also storage. Also in Europe, we have projects. And as you mentioned, in Vietnam and in Thailand, we have joint venture factories. We work with many other counterparts and partners to carry out technology innovation and manufacturing.
So you believe in globalization?
Yeah.
Now, in America, the Inflation Reduction Act stipulates that so-called foreign entities of concern won't be allowed to receive any government funds. The US government has yet to define what a so-called foreign entity of concern is, but if I ran a Chinese company, I would be, so to speak, a little concerned. How confident are you that you will escape that definition?
I'm very confident. Let's think about this way. A lot of people are talking about globalization. A lot of people are saying that we are against of globalization. I know there are all kinds of thinking behind, but if we look at it, why globalization is something that we cannot resist? First of all the enterprises, whether it's U.S. company or American company, European company, they all on this path of globalization. This is an irresistible trend because you have to share the technology, the product with other countries in the world. This is the fundamental economic side of it. And also, we have to look at that during the globalization. There are a lot of technologies that are shared. For example, the information that we're sharing at the moment, all the logistics we're sharing at the moment. This is all providing a very solid foundation for globalizations. So if you want to play silo, it's impossible. This is second part. Thirdly, and I think maybe the most important factor of all, that is the capital part, the plate of the capital. So the euro has come. This is something that we cannot stop. The global talents is another thing. Global knowledge and the global market, it all goes to the place where it's needed the most. So globalization is just not just a nominal term that we're talking about. It has very sound economic fundamentals. You have social and capital fundamentals. Which side you can stop? You can't. So if you can't, it has to move forward. So this is something that I like to share with you first. The second question is that just now we also talk about, and that is why I'd like to share with you a simple concept. When a child was born, a baby was born, parents are very protective. So the government is protecting him. The society also protecting him or her. When he becomes 18, then he becomes adult. Then he can go to the market by himself. So that's why when the enterprise is at early stage, all the governments are protective. So just you're talking about America. In America, the new companies are about 12%. And I think when it comes to protectionism policies, it can be understandable. It's understandable. But during the process of growing, this kid will inevitably receiving knowledge or other information or other humanity from other people. People are going to teach the child a lot of things. So that's why the American companies, they have to interact with other companies in the world, with other resources in the world, information in the world. During this process, then it can become stronger and bigger and develop faster. But so I think in the future, I don't think those IRA policy can completely stop companies to go global or go into international markets, because the company is thrive through competition. It's not thrive through some regulations or some subsidies. The future market, we have the market to decide on the winners. So whether it's the IRF or the Europe's chips law, I think in the future we still are very optimistic. If you can put in enough effort, if you can have the right product, this kind of protectionism is a short term.
Do you think all this resource nationalism, every country on its own by itself, is slowing down the energy transition, or do you think that's just a short-term thing that will overcome?
它这个思维的发展呢，它真是螺旋式上升，波段式前进的。那技术的
There's a spiral kind of trend. The progression is very slow, but it's steady. For example, in the early this year, we have a new technology. We have the sodium technology. And also we will put a lot of investment behind it, and also on the new batteries technology. We actually put in a little bit more money behind that, so to increase the longevity and increase the safety. And then we have a new type of batteries to give you a lower investment, a lower cost. And you can see that the revolution is always consistent. It's always constantly evolving. So in the future, we're able to have EV that runs for very, very, even above 1,000 kilometers. I think we are embracing all this technology. In the future, if we are able to have new technologies and new innovations, we should be able to have this market to be even more thriving.
You have a lot of projects. How do you finance all your projects?
资本市场
Capital market, we're IPO market, and also from 2020 we have also started our investment aggressively. We actually also, I think in this part you really have to have strength, to attract those funds. If you were talking about 5 or 6. We're talking about talents. We have about 5,000 or 6,000 of engineering technicians on the battery research. We also have 7,000 patent technologies in the batteries development. So you can see that science is a process of discovery. You have when it comes to innovations, you probably can use science to resolve one issue out of 100. You have enough technicians or scientists, engineers. You can resolve maybe 100 out of 1,000 questions. So you can see that in terms of technology and talents, we are not shy from it. We always put in more investment as much as we could. We are constantly building our value chains in the industry. We have a lot of lithium mines, resources. We also have a lot of connections in Indonesia to get our resources. So we have investment in Morocco. We have also in China domestically to resolve our cost problem. So in the future, a lot of people ask me, in the future, what is the price of batteries will be? I think there are 2 ways that you can control the cost. One is recycle. Second is to manufacture. If you can do these 2 things well, you can lower at least 50% of the cost. I think from 2025, you should be able to achieve that goal. And also, I think a lot of companies are working investing very heavily on storage technology. That is another aspect of recycle the battery. So if you're able to work on these 2 areas, to recycle as well to manufacture, I think we should be able to get more recognitions from the societies.
Go on for hours. Sadly, we're out of time. So thank you very much. Thank you.